Howdy, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Ryan. This is Aaron. Yeah, uh, we are college friends. We graduated a little over a year ago, and I, at least, got the white man's urge to give my opinion to the world. I'm not sure exactly what his motivation is, but I know starting a podcast is the way most of us do it. So, Aaron, if you want to give your own little background.
Yeah, no, I'm just here so that because I like talking theology with Ryan, and I figured I could, make everything a little bit more chill. So that's my urge for the yeah. So my name's Aaron. Me and Ryan obviously met at A&M, and I am currently married. I live in Austin with my beautiful wife Sophia, and I work as a chemical engineer. I know that Ryan works as a civil engineer. So we had a lot in common going through college, and we just both really enjoy intellectual conversations and enjoy learning about new things. And Ryan definitely enjoys sparking controversy wherever he goes. So yeah, we thought this would be a good idea.
Yeah, so, our first episode, just to do a general opening, I found this bingo chart on Reddit. Uh, let me share it real quick.
He showed this to me about like a couple weeks
Yes,
ago, and I
he's
looked
seen
at
it.
the
Where
events,
is
and I was
it?
like, I have no idea what any of these
Where is it? Hang on.
these things are.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay. So now it's up. Now what do we do? There we go. Okay. Okay.
It's
So
like
this
Zoom
is
all
the
over
bingo
again.
chart. It's what? Oh, the Zoom rosaries all over again. Yeah. We can go into that at a different time. Yeah. So I found this bingo chart on Reddit. Uh, looking for topics. I'm not a Redditor. I get that out of your head. But no. So I figured we'd go through this. I did research on all of these people. Some of them have a lot deeper rabbit holes than others. So yeah, we're just gonna go through all of them. I'm gonna explain what I found about these fellows, give them my opinions. Then Aaron's gonna give his opinion based on what I said because I don't believe because you've done no research on this, right?
No, so you're gonna
No.
get like third level opinions from me.
No, no, mine are third or fourth level opinions. Yours are going to be like,
Yeah.
wait, yeah. Yeah, okay. So, let's get right into it. Do you know who Archbishop Vigano is?
I've heard of him before. I don't know a lot about him now.
All right, so Archbishop Vigano is a modern day Archbishop Lefebvre. You know who Lefebvre is?
Yeah.
Yes, so he's a modern day version of that guy.
Okay. Okay.
So I believe he's been a sedevacantist for a while. I assume you know what sedevacantist is.
Yeah. He's Italian, right?
He's Italian. He's
Okay.
Italian.
Yeah.
I believe he was sort of a diplomat from the Holy See to the United States. Most of these are like American figures, so I assume most of our audience will be American. Just guessing, but yeah. So yes, Vigano. He's been a sedevacantist for a while. Sedevacantist, for those of you that don't know, means he rejects that there is a pope. So it's not someone who just believes a different person is the pope than actually is the pope. It's someone who believes there currently is no valid pope. So that's what Vigano is. I'm kind of glad we didn't get to this until now because in the last like month or so he was actually excommunicated.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
no, I did hear about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Looking at what else he said, because once he started getting into that, he naturally went off the general like conspiracy theory bandwagon, and so it started with some pretty typical like Donald Trump New World Order stuff, like not lizard people, but like lizard people. More like COVID conspiracies, like oh it's all engineered. Um, I believe he was elected to be the anti-pope. Sorry, he's to be the pope of the Ukrainian Orthodox Greek Catholic Church, which is an offshoot of the Ukrainian Greek Catholic
Okay.
Church. The
Yeah.
latter of which is just a different rite, but the former of which is the sedevacantist offshoot of that. Um,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So I'm not sure he's accepted it, so I don't think he actually is an anti-pope technically. But Some people think he's the Pope. Let's see. I believe he was strangely supportive of the Russian invasion of Ukraine for some reason.
Even though
He
he's
said-
the theoretical pope of the Ukrainian Greek
Yep,
Orthodox.
yep. Yeah, he said Russian's some kind of like bastion of traditional values or something. Yeah, no. Yeah, so that's what we have on Vigano. So him making secret ordinations is likely a reference to the fact that Lefebvre, a few decades ago, did the same thing, and that's where we have some of our more schismatic groups after they come from. So the joke here is that that's a thing that could possibly happen. Like it wouldn't be out of anyone's like.
So he hasn't actually
Range.
made secret ordinations yet.
Hasn't
It's
done
just
that.
like
These are
that's the-
hypotheticals.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Wait, all of these are hypotheticals?
Every single one is hypothetical.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
okay, good. Because I was looking at some of these and I was like, man, I don't remember like hearing. I feel like I would have heard about this in the news or something. You know?
Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Do you know who? Okay, what's you got anything to say about that?
I'm sure that these are gonna get more crazy as we go on, but that's already just like that's bizarre to me.
It doesn't necessarily scale upwards, actually, as I found
Yeah,
out. So
okay,
it's a more-
Yeah, I think that's so weird how like churches will sometimes just try and elect like someone who's very like political kind of like person to like be their like leader, be their their
Right, yeah.
anti-pope if you want to like put it like that. It's just so it's just bizarre to me. That makes it really funny.
Yep. Well, I mean, I guess they get a lot of attention, so it's like they got a lot of
Yeah.
attention from those people, and those people probably aren't super scholarly, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my guess at least.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
wonder what he does now that he's
What he does
that
now?
he's excommunicated. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, what happens to excommunicated clergy? Like, do they
Yeah.
get like
Like I'm sure he still lives in because he was in Rome, right? Wasn't he?
yes,
Or
he's
is it
Italian.
somewhere- Yeah,
so-
I'm sure he still lives there, and he probably still because I mean the only thing excommunication is you just aren't allowed like you're no longer allowed to like practice or receive the sacraments. I don't think
Right.
I wonder if
if
Laius,
there's
I wonder if he
different
technically
systems
is,
for
like,
clergy, though. Like, I don't know.
yeah, because he would also have to be a bishop, right?
Right. Yeah, he's still a
Yeah.
bishop, so he's an
Yeah.
archbishop.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. That's interesting. I'm assuming they're just kind of like holding him like in the church. if that
Guessing.
makes
Yeah, he
sense,
still
and
has to do
he-
mass every day, like privately, right? So.
I don't.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think you can if you're excommunicated, right? I would
Okay.
assume.
Okay.
Because then you would have to receive the Eucharist if you're saying mass.
To
and
receive
you
it, or
can't-
can you just do it?
I don't think you're allowed to say mass if you don't
Okay.
also receive the
Okay.
Eucharist yourself. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting.
Got it.
Yeah. Well, hope he's doing
Cool.
well. That guy's got a time. I guess.
Oh yeah, prayers for everyone on the list, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You know who Brian Holdsworth is?
I do not know who Brian Folger is.
Okay, Brian Holdsworth is YouTuber, Catholic YouTuber. I believe he converted to Catholicism from. He was like a searching YouTuber like a decade or so ago, and
Oh,
so he converted to Catholicism from some branch of Protestantism. Now he seems like a nice guy. He seems like a polite I'd have a chat with this guy. I believe his main thing is that he has a habit of talking about things he might not be super qualified to talk about. So his,
Like we're doing right now.
I do that all the time, so I can't get on too much about it. But no, I believe his background is in graphic design, but he'll release sort of videos on like church history and politics, which again, we'll probably do that at some point. But
Right.
yeah.
So basically, if he quits YouTube, like the hypothetical here, we will like take over his
Yes.
his show and content and everything, right? 'Cause- yeah,
Yes, I believe the hypothetical here is based on the fact that, like, what I read is that he might be, like, terminally online is the term. I don't know, though. I don't want to make any accusations here. I mean, after the last part, right? But, also, like, this is just a comment. He seems like the type to, like, use all the buzzwords, the Catholic buzzwords we all know
Okay.
and
Yeah.
accept the existence of, and, that could be an episode. Hang on.
The St. Mary's buzzwords kind of.
St. Mary's general Catholic buzzwords. I know just the person to invite on too. So. Okay. All right. So that's that. I don't think there's much more to say about Holdsworth. Okay.
Ryan
Any
Molteris,
comments?
if you're watching this and you want to quit YouTube, we'll take it over for you.
Maybe it'll get to him. Depends how well I promote it, right? No. Yeah. Okay. Uh, AI image of Father James Martin at gay bar dupes Twitter. Do you know who Father James Martin is?
No.
You've probably heard of him. You haven't?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so Father James Martin is a Jesuit priest. He's very vocal on social media and stuff about like LGBT issues. He hasn't come out and said he supports making same-sex marriage a thing, but like people infer that he does, which I think like the role of charity basically says you have to assume that they're not, even if like it seems like they are.
Right.
Like right, so yeah. The main problem, the main problems with him is that he's not always clear with his words, maybe intentionally, maybe not, right? On like social media, like someone commented on Pete Buttigieg and his husband and Father Martin about how like legal marriage versus sacramental marriage, right? And then he kind of just comments, "Oh, Pete Buttigieg is married actually." And then when pressed on it, he says, "Well, I actually meant in the legal sense," which I guess it could have been said, but like it's awkward. The most recent problem is after the release of Fiducia Supplicanis, which was the document that said
Right.
priests can bless
Bless.
individuals in same-sex couples, right?
Yeah.
He posted a photo on Twitter, I think, of him blessing a same-sex couple in a way that like it wasn't exactly clear that this wasn't a marriage, which is something that was in the document that you had to do. You had to like, make it clear that it wasn't the sacrament of matrimony.
Right.
I will say about Father Martin, he does get overly hated, I think. I mean, there's the criticism. There is criticism of him. I think I've made it clear that there are valid criticisms of him. I believe a lot of people with these strong like ideological opinions, they're that way across the board. Like I don't know if you heard at Thomas's bachelor party. Thomas is a friend of ours. We almost went to a church that was like an American Catholic church.
Oh yeah,
So after we went somewhere else, obviously, but after that, we were looking through the website, and it's like they're progressive on pretty much every hot button issue, right? And so it's like, yeah, okay, like if you had just had like the woman priest, that'd be one thing. It's like okay, like you're in schism, but like maybe you have your reasons, but it's like it's every issue, so it's like
you're kind of
seems
trying
like
to like be like controversial.
exactly,
right here.
exactly.
Yeah.
And Father Martin is not that. After like he's very openly like pro-life like all the way through. He got a lot of flack from some of his like more progressive supporters for it. But no, he doesn't. He has a very like he's very soft voice sort of. Right? He's not confrontational. So he's not like going in the street and like preaching about it, right? But he's vocally pro-life. And I think he recently, or not recently, but at some point released a video like basically saying like talking about like anti-Catholic prejudice like in media and stuff, which was not what anyone expected at the time. So yeah, that's that. So more hate, he gets more hate than he deserves, I think, but he does have some problems. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I have more to say about like the issue in a broad sense than that specifically because I've never seen anything of Father James Martin, but
right.
Yeah, it's very interesting whenever you read to read and hear people's opinions about that because I feel like most people that sit within the like Catholic spectrum but are like still within the bounds of like what the church teaches. There's like the very like conservative side and the very liberal side in terms of like how to apply the blessings, and I don't know. It's always interesting to like hear their arguments and stuff like that. And I think it's harder, especially because when you deal with like, sure, like all sin is a public sin, but like there's a difference between a sin that is not known to the public but still impacts the public, and then there's a sin that is known to literally everybody and also impacts right. Like every sin impacts the public, but it's not always lived out in public, and so with those, it's very difficult to kind of like get your bearings on, how do I not be an asshole to like these people that like still
Yeah.
greatly deserve God's love versus like how do I uphold the dignity and the correctness of the church's teachings on all of this. So man's in a difficult spot. I feel like that I was kind of Pope Francis was at too with that. I was like I get the document, and he definitely like means the right things, but that's just a tough spot to try and like legislate in, because people are always going to interpret it differently and have opinions about it and stuff like that. So,
we could all use PR reps, I think. I think also I was thinking as we were talking, he's a Jesuit, like I said, and I think there's a lot of confusion about the Jesuits nowadays. So I think that could be a future episode too.
Yeah, a lot of Jesuits have, Jesuits, and also in my experience, like a lot of religious orders just have, for some reason, their like particular devotions just kind of lead them to like interesting views in certain ways. Like I know that I have a priest friend who, he's for the Order of Our Lady of La Salette, and he was telling me that like he's very staunch like pro-life, right? Like I mean, obviously he's from Texas, so he kind of grew up in that culture. But when he moved to Massachusetts for a few years and was there with some of his older other like parts of his religious order, they were all pro-choice, but yet they were all like Catholic religious that were for a religious order. And he was like, yeah, for some reason like a lot of my particular religious order just kind of like breeds that type of thinking, and that's I don't know, that's bizarre. But I've heard a lot of that about the Jesuits in particular.
Yeah,
as well.
I've heard Jesuits fall on the entire spectrum though. So I think we could have an episode on that. We know some people associated with the Jesuits from high school, but no. Okay, Laura Horn, Jen Fulwire collab. Do you know who they are?
I know who Laura Horn is. I do not know who Jen Fulwire is.
Horn is the wife of Catholic apologist Trent Horn. I believe he's later on this list. Jen Fulweiler is another like explicitly Catholic comedian. I believe she spoke at Seek that one year we went.
Oh, really? Okay. Cool.
Yes, she talked about like whenever there's a demon, no one says like someone find a non-denominational pastor. I think.
Yeah. Okay, I know who you're talking about. I've seen that clip on Instagram. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So comedians, they're very funny. I think Laura Horn's a bit edgier, especially on YouTube. I mean, yeah, nothing controversial. I don't think about either of them. I can't think of anything.
Yeah,
for
that
one.
would be funny. I feel like you very rarely see like comedian collabs where they're actually like funny and they're not just like crapping on someone, like they're not just like making jokes at someone else's expense exclusively. So
no, Laura does that, but
yeah, but like I mean that's not the like intention the whole time,
right,
Like I feel like most other comedians now are just like let's like absolutely shit on like whoever we can,
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to see a comedian collab that isn't like focused around that,
I think Laura Horn and Trent Horn are funny as a married couple because like they're the two they're very different, like very different. Yeah.
Right.
All right. That's it for that. Not a whole lot of controversy there. Okay, Kennedy Hall becomes Orthodox. This is supposed to say. You know who Kennedy Hall is?
I do. Yes.
Okay, so the first problem with Kennedy Hall is that he's Canadian.
Right.
Right. So that already like puts him down a few pegs, right? But even ignoring that, I believe he's like openly schismatic and all that. Like, okay, he's not a C, not a state of a contest, so not the worst one on this list so far. But he pretty much, I believe he's a big supporter of the Society of St. Pius X.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so he's kind of every caricature around that group of people is him. So, like, maybe not quite schismatic, but definitely problematic in some way. What has he specifically said? I think he peddles conspiracy theories. He kind of like the typical Pope Francis slander, right? Yeah, I don't want to go too. I don't want to make hit pieces here, so I don't want to be too aggressive. Yeah. What do you know about him? You seem to be familiar with it.
I don't really. Pretty much, basically, just what you said.
Okay.
I don't spend a lot of time on the internet, as everyone can probably
That's
tell
good.
at this point. So all of these is just like Ryan is like my newscaster right now.
I'm not. I googled a lot of this stuff before we did this. By the way, all of you, I'm not. I'm not spending all my time on the internet too. I have a full-time job. No, yeah.
A full-time job, right?
I do have a full-time job. Yeah. Okay. Next one. Strickland releases country music parody called "Skip a Pope."
That one was one of the few that I like immediately understood. That was pretty funny.
Right. Excuse me. Hang on. My headbud is out. So Strickland, he's a bishop. He's the former bishop of. One second.
Diocese of Tyler, yeah.
Diocese of Tyler. So he's from Texas. So that's where the country music part comes in. And he's actually a mixed bag, I believe. He's said so. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. He's I've seen some of his clips like that aren't talking about church politics, and he actually like says some like smart like logical things. When I was getting out of my sort of progressive Catholic stage, I saw a clip of his. I think at the current level, I had like accepted all the church teaching on things. At this point I believed, okay, we shouldn't say intrinsically disordered, right? That was my opinion then. Then I saw a clip of him talking, and he said, well, actually, everyone has intrinsically disordered sexuality. So it's like, well, I guess that actually makes sense now, So I do give him some credit. I believe his problems come in that he, like, flirts with schism. He's critical of Pope Francis, I believe. He may or may not have signed a document that accused him of heresy. I know it's ambiguous in there. I know the big thing he did was he like read a letter publicly where someone openly accused him of being an imposter pope or something, and he said, "Gives us a lot to think about." He didn't endorse it, but he and I think in that position he did have an obligation to condemn that sentiment at least.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was removed from his position, and I think he's probably not as bad now. I saw a picture of him preaching somewhere with a giant picture of Pope Francis behind him as if to double down on him not actually reject. Yeah, so credit where it's due. He was actually we've been in the same room as him. He was at the christening mass for the new St. Mary's.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
I know Bishop Joe, Bishop of Diocese of Boston, which, obviously College Station is part of. He took over, administrative duties for Bishop Strickland's diocese. I'm pretty sure he still is. I don't think they've appointed a new bishop officially yet for Tyler.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. I feel kind of bad for bishops sometimes because I feel like that's such a hard position to be in, because you're not really supposed to be as a cleric of the Catholic Church. Your job really isn't to be part of politics, right? But you definitely have to be part of it if you're a bishop, and you kind of have to participate a little bit if you're a priest as well, just because that's the way our culture is, and that's especially how the U.S. works. I feel like that might just be a function of the fact that I live in the U.S., but I feel like you hear about that in the U.S. way more often of there's a lot of responsibility on bishops to make their positions known, but while also making sure to provide deference to the Vatican, because that's their responsibility. So
that's their main job.
Usually a really tough position to be in, especially when you're, you got to keep a good relationship with Christ, and I feel like that's kind of hard to do as a bishop compared to a priest or religious, because you just don't have as much time, and you have to really be very intentional about it. So. Yeah. Great for your bishops. Bishops have a hard time. They're workaholics, man. They have a lot to do.
Yeah. Okay, next one. Tim Gordon promotes LSD as gateway to God. Do you know who Tim Gordon is?
No.
Good. So Tim Gordon is I think he calls himself an author, philosopher, which I guess he probably tends. I mean, he's definitely objectively an author, but he's not. Yeah. Okay, whatever. So his main thing is that he is a strong, strict complementarian. So very hardcore, uh, gender roles, like strict, like he says is famous for saying it's a mortal sin for a wife or mother or something to have a job.
Oh, all right.
I think
very
he
trash.
also he might have said like he might have said wives can't morally leave the house without their husband's permission. I don't. That's a maybe. I think he's credited with that. I've seen him credited with that. I don't want to slander him. But and he's also just in the general like trad circles. It's not just like Pope Francis is bad. He's a not fan of like the last several popes.
Right.
I think he dislikes a lot of theology of the body stuff. He thinks it's like modernist stuff. Anti John Paul II too.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen him. I think I've seen a video of him accusing Pope Benedict of not participating in, but attending like orgies in the Vatican. Yeah, no, it's general conspiracy theorist stuff. Yeah, same things we've seen already. Yeah, there's some weird voices out there. So that's that. What is this? No, never mind. Okay. You have any comments, or do you want to just let that sit?
So what's the joke here about him promoting LSD?
Oh, I believe it's a running joke that he always says, "I don't do drugs" for whatever reason. Probably because he kind of has a frat bro type voice.
Okay.
People might accuse him of being like a former frat bro who would have done LSD. I'm guessing that's the joke. I haven't seen like any of his videos.
That's all right. Yeah, I don't know if I have any comments about
for your
this.
psyche to watch. Yeah, no. He appeared on Punch the Aquinas one time, and Matt Fradd looked kind of visibly uncomfortable with a lot of it. I think, but he didn't.
That's really reading this, this is maybe fly over some people's heads, but I just thought of it made me think of Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if you've heard a lot about, but he had all these things as he got older that he takes like Ayahuasca tea, which is like kind of LSD or like it's like a psychedelic. Yeah, and that's his like way of like meditating and like having spiritual experiences and stuff like that. This just like made me think of that because
I think they're probably about the same age, if I were to guess. So maybe that's a midlife crisis type thing, you know. Okay, moving on from that one. Jimmy Akin shaves. You know who Jimmy Akin is, right?
I do know who Jimmy Akin is.
Right. I don't think anyone has anything negative to say about Jimmy Akin. I can't think of anything negative to say about Jimmy Akin. I can't think of anything valid anyone could say negative about Jimmy Akin. So I think he's one of the senior apologists of Catholic Answers, so he's one of the top guys there. I think he's a big sci-fi fan. He talks a lot about like aliens and time travel and about like what the implications of those on the faith. But no, he also like debates Protestants, atheists. He's a very accomplished apologist. And obviously he's from Texas, and I believe the joke here is that he has a very long red beard.
Right.
And so him shaving would honestly be a bigger like catastrophe than anything else on this list, right? So that's where that comes from.
I mean, man, you have a killer beard and great apologetics, even great like theoretical apologietics, you know. Don't shave the beard. That would be really sad. But wouldn't it be so funny if he just rolls up for like Lent one year and just completely shaved, like all over? And
I'm sure as well I'd be okay with it, but
like sackcloth,
So. Yeah. Also a really good Southern accent too. Very, very good all around. I have nothing negative to say.
Yeah. If we get 10 likes on this on YouTube, Ryan will shave his head and his beard and for the next episode.
I'll probably shave my beard soon just because it's getting out of hand. But I'm not sure what to do with the hair. It's been a while since I had to make a big decision about that. But okay. Pat Coffin blames Bergoglio for COVID-24. Parentheses, fake. Do you know anything? Do you understand any of that?
I had no clue what to make of this when I was reading this, and I was like, this is like prime like middle schooler meme culture on here. That
Yeah. So Jorge Bergoglio was Pope Francis's name before he became
Right,
Pope.
yeah.
Oftentimes, the opponents will call him Bergoglio in the derogatory way, as if to like
Yeah, to
question his
insinuate that
validity.
he's not the real pope or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah. Okay.
There's a thing in Europe that just as a sort of term of endearment, they might refer to the Pope by just his former last name. People called JP2 Watoya. They called
Yeah.
uh, Benedict Ratzinger, but that wasn't like disrespectful or anything. It's just a name, basically. But no, okay. So Pat Coffin is what the fourth Sedevacantist on this list so far? Yeah. So, but he doesn't. So most Sedevacantists believe Pope Pius XII was the last valid pope, but Pat here doesn't. He believes Pope Benedict XVI was the last valid pope, which is honestly makes him probably less problematic than the rest of them, I guess technically. But he not only believed he was the last valid pope, he believed Pope Benedict was still the pope after his resignation. And so, I saw this. It was like this AI-generated clip of him talking, and it was like the joke was it was cutting to him from some other show, and it was like cuts to him, and it's like, yeah, and that's why Benedict is still the pope, even despite the fact that he's dead, right? So, I'm guessing this is all generic conspiracy theory enough. I looked at this one and I was like, decided to do a very surface level look at all this. I didn't want to. This is not a rabbit hole. I'm not like opposed to it, like because I think it's disturbing. I just thought it'd be a lot more work than I wanted to do. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, I'm out on this one.
Okay. YouTube comment, that could be anything, right? Claims Francis plans to canonize Saint Pachamama. What? you know what the Pachamama incident was?
I do not know what that is. No.
Okay, so in the Vatican for some event, might have been World Youth Day, might have been a Jubilee or some big event. There was just a lot of worship going wrong, a lot of like veneration, a lot of saint statues. One of which was this supposed Pachamama figure, which, if you look into it, is actually a figure from I think Native American like lore, like
Okay.
so it's Native American deity. It's not something you want to be praying to.
Right. Yeah.
If you watch the video, it's clear the people in the video believed it to be a statue of Mary. So it's not like there's an idol, we're praying to an idol in the Vatican. No, it's just a misunderstanding. But it did become sort of a symbol of a lot of anti-Francis sentiment. And to be fair, yeah, they probably could have done a better background check on that, right? But there's a story where this guy threw it into the water or something in an attempt to be a hero. You know how those types are, right? So
Yeah.
everyone wants to be the guy. Yeah, and so this box claims, or any YouTube comment that claims Francis plans to canonize St. Pachamama, this is a lot more likely to happen than everything else, because I could just go do that right now, right? So, I mean,
Probably happened already. Yeah.
it probably happened already, probably based on this, honestly.
That's so funny. Yeah. Yeah, I actually have a related comment to this.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, if you want to end with this, because I think we're getting close to 30
We
minutes.
can keep going. We can keep going. I don't have a problem.
You sure? Okay, yeah, that's good. But yeah, this is I think that's really funny. I think it's funny that this is probably like some like foreigners, you know, that were just there that like have no idea what anything inside of the Vatican is or says, you know. You're just looking at stuff and you're like, oh, this is probably okay to like reverence this statue or whatever. But when me and my wife went to Germany a while ago and we were looking at like Catholic parishes to go to mass at in Germany,
Right.
and I definitely looked through like 3 or 4 different parishes like just to make sure that they weren't like, you know, schismatic or anything like that before we were going. But like all the websites are in German, so I have like absolutely no idea what we were looking for, and I just see like a link to the Vatican's website and like Papa Francescus like at the bottom, and I was like, all right, yeah, this church is probably like okay to go to.
Yeah. Okay, so that's that. All right. Schneider publishes Credo Bible with Matthew 16, 17 through 19 removed. Okay. What are your immediate responses? Okay,
what
this is
can
what
do
this
you
is.
have Matthew 16, 17 through 19 pulled up? Because I don't have that memorized off the top of my head.
It's,
So
it's, it's the upon this rock I built this church, and the
oh,
gates of hell
okay.
shall
It's
not prevail.
basically like an anti-papal.
Yes, no. So Schneider is a bishop. He's a bishop. So
Okay.
he believes in the papacy and all that. He he's not a seed, but he is anti-Francis, I believe.
Okay, so it's just another like anti-Francis joke. Okay, I
Yeah.
got
So
it.
what this is a reference to is that he produced this Credo Catechism, which actually got some pretty decent reviews from like Scott Hahn at least. So I'll
Okay.
some respect to it, right? But
Yeah.
it must be a pretty decent source. But it defines schism as not like lack of submission to the Roman Pontiff, which is what the definition of schism is, but as the lack of acknowledgement of the Roman Pontiff. So basically said you can like rebel against him and not be in schism. And I think the joke here is that the equivalent of that would be the Bible with Matthew 16, 17 to 19 removed.
That is kind of funny.
Yeah.
That's I don't know. That's such a weird like distinction because then it's like language semantics at that point. You know, it's like yeah, you can like be mad about what the Pope says and maybe it's okay to like say that publicly in a way that's respectful, but like, you know, like does that really count as like acknowledging or not acknowledging, like depending on how far you're taking it? You know, I don't know. It's one of those
Right,
language
right.
semantic things. It's like you're definitely just like trying to make yourself look slightly less bad, you know, by like
Right.
changing the language to it a little bit when like I don't know, it kind of means the same thing anyway.
Right. By the way, I have no time issue or anything. I thought you might have had a time issue, but if you don't, then I'm good to keep going.
Yeah, we can do one more. We'll go
You
up
think
to
so?
the star. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. I mean that's fine. You don't want to keep going?
No, yeah, we can go up to the star and we'll do the second half the next. We can do
Oh,
another
okay.
episode in the second half. Yeah. All right.
That sounds fine. Yeah. Okay. Fernandez goes scorched earth on Germans. Okay. So, you know who Fernandez is?
I do not know who Fernando.
Cardinal Fernandez is the head of the DDF, so the Dicastery of Faith, something Department of the Dicastery of Faith.
Okay.
I believe I'm not sure exactly what they do. I think he's better known as like sort of, Pope Francis' like PR guy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, in the last couple years, or maybe a year or so, he's been very active on Twitter, just sort of clearing up confusion about things Pope Francis has said, whether valid or invalid criticisms, right? I know his most recent, I think, W was, remember that dubia a few months ago? Maybe a little while, maybe about a year ago, actually. But, right, so a couple of more, like, famously conservative cardinals released a dubia to Pope Francis. They asked him some questions to clear up his stances on things, right? And so he answered, and then the document they released actually had omitted some of his answers, and it made him seem more like dubious than like
Then
he actually was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Fernandez handled that very well. He released like the full answer at a good enough timing that like it would have looked real, and like he had gotten like a record basically of the previous like
Yeah.
incomplete response to show records
Yeah.
of it. The criticisms of him is like he may have said some like a bit of like oddball theology stuff like a little while ago. Nothing like heterodox, but like kind of weird. Like he wrote a book about the like sort of theology of like kissing or something specifically, which I mean it could if I didn't read it obviously, but I'm assuming it was theology of the body stuff, if I were to guess. But
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
right. Yeah, and so that's referring to the German bishops, I believe. And several German bishops are sort of like going against the Vatican on things. They're doing like same-sex marriages. They're supporting like couples
Right.
living together before they're married. Pretty much all that stuff. And so he's also an opponent of theirs. He's called them out. I believe he said like he's gonna go like himself is gonna go to Germany, like, get it sorted out. And then he said, if necessary, I'll bring you back to the Vatican to like re-educate you. So
That's a pretty hard line, honestly.
pretty strong, yeah. Yeah. I mean, with regards to German bishops, I think they're being a bit careful because the last time, like, someone in Germany took a really hardcore conservative position on something, there were some problems, right? So they might be trying to like simmer it down, right?
Yeah.
You have any comments on that?
That's pretty funny. That's cool. Honestly, yeah. What Cardinal Fernandez? That's
Yeah.
a good hard stance, and that's pretty baller. I gotta say that's whoever translated that into English for you, that was a great line. Maybe that was you. I don't know.
No, I didn't. No,
I can,
crazy
or not you, but
stuff,
him.
yeah.
Him. I don't know if he speaks English or not. I don't know what his.
Yeah. I assume he knows it, but yeah.
Probably, yeah. I think it's really, like, when you hear about all this kind of Pope Francis stuff, I think it's really, really interesting to, like, think about how impressive it is that Pope Francis's words can get translated into, like, basically every knowable language, like, decently well.
Right, yeah.
And, like, I'm not gonna make this a whole separate rant, but like with the
Right.
decline in like language is really easily manipulated nowadays. Like
Right.
words don't mean what they used to, even when like when someone like Pope Francis grew up, like words now mean different things than they used to. Like the connotations are different, and like you're sitting there in Italy like making pronouncements of faith, and you have to trust your entire staff of probably something like 10 to 20 people that are doing all these translations and checking to like convey perfectly what you said in Spanish or Italian into
Right.
every other language in a way that absolutely nobody's going to misinterpret, despite the fact that everyone reads words and connotes them differently. Like I don't I don't know, it's tough, and people are very prone to just like being very nitpicky about like this word doesn't belong here, like this word has a different connotation and stuff like that, and to like try and like hit at Pope Francis or hit at like other bishops and stuff like that. And I don't know, it all seems a bit like people just want to like get in there and nitpick stuff sometimes. But good on him, I obviously a lot of the stuff the German bishops are doing is actually wrong, and it's good on him for being hard with it and defending the doctrines of the church well. So.
Right. Okay, so that'll wrap up episode 1, I guess. We'll get to the rest of it in the next episode. Yeah, thanks everyone for watching. I do want to credit. Hang on.
The person who made this on Reddit.
Yes, I'm looking this up. Hang on.
Yeah, and great job, kind of
Give me a
bringing me up to speed and narrating it and all that stuff too. That was helpful. I didn't. I figured it would have been a good call and response, and I'm learning about all this too. So that was
Okay.
good job doing the research and everything. I appreciate that.
Yeah, credit to you/a handful of snails on Reddit for this.
Good.
All right, goodbye everyone. Thanks for listening.
Yep.